There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host and elk hunting coach, Joe Gilligan. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Happy 4th of July and welcome everybody to another special edition of Blue Collar Elk Hunting, part 5 of our Solo with Coach series. Guys, this series has been about X's and O's. My elk hunting, offensive, defensive strategies, and prep to help you get ready for your upcoming season. Today, we're going to kind of go back to the defensive mindset with the goal of helping you to defend against unforeseen moments, breakdowns in strategy, and your preparation that could magnify your weaknesses and prevent you from a win. In the previous episodes, we talked about defending against breakdowns in the areas of you and your gear and in skill development and situational recognition. Today, what I want to do is I want to cover 2 areas that I feel, especially as a coach, that can absolutely keep you from succeeding. And then I want to give you some thoughts on how to defend against them. Those areas are you and your mental preparation and you and your physical preparation. And we're going to start with you and your physical preparation. But before we do that, what I want to do is, and I want to do this too, because every time somebody hears you and your physical preparation, right away you get a whole different thought process. I want to tell you, I think this is going to be a little bit different than anything you've heard before. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully I can give you a little nugget. Maybe it's stuff you have heard. Maybe it's, if it is something new and something that helps you overcome during the season, I think that's going to be worth its weight. But first, just a little heads up that I want to let everybody know that we're going to be taking a little break here in July for family. Man, we got so much going on with our adventure camp prep and to get ready for the upcoming season ourselves. So much to do, man. We are just cranking, and it's a good thing. It's a, being this busy is a great thing. It's a great problem to have, but there's so little time to do it, and it seems like July crams everything together. Plus, my wife and I will be celebrating this will be our 43rd anniversary, and we're going to take off and do a little something special ourselves. So there's going to be plenty of exciting stuff to share when we get back, and we're going to be excited to do that. Because let me tell you what, man, with the things that we've got going on, and here in New Mexico, we have, let's see, I think our average rainfall is supposed to be like 16 inches. Well, since the last 2 weeks of May through June. So you're looking at last month and a half. I know we've had over 10 inches of rain in our area. It is the greenest I've seen it. There's water running in places we haven't had it, which, I listen to people in other parts of the state of New Mexico. That's not the case. So we've absolutely been blessed here. Also, with that said, since we're disappearing a little bit, I want to make sure that we recognize and give a little reward to our listeners and to those people that have been so kind and generous with their time, writing a review for us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. I just discovered the other day that we're getting those on Spotify, man. So I'm trying to get there and see those. It's a little bit different way to do that, but it's all good. I'm excited about that. And on our YouTube channel, y'all, it's Spin a Winter Wheel time, and we've got a very special giveaway item for our winner today. Our brother, if you don't know of this guy, him and Doug and the products that they create, Armando Martinez from Simply Savage Solutions, the makers of the bow hitch, he called me up and said that he wanted to support our Spin a Winner giveaway. So today's winner will be able to go to thebowhitch.com and they can select any item in stock from their store. A bow hitch, a solution rifle sling, their incredible tripod sling, and even a piece of bow hitch swag. If that's what they want, their choice. So let's go to our spin a winner wheel. Here we go, y'all. Got to thank you guys. Justin Gotham, Maupin, Oregon. Chris Talbot, New Orleans. Joe Stutzman, Oregon. David Stab, Caledonia, Wisconsin. Sean Morgan, Thompson Falls, Montana. Jordan Mifflin, Williston, North Dakota. Mike Wilson, Ogden, Utah. Greg Kaiser, Star Valley, Wyoming. Kent Brill from Kearney, Nebraska. Randy from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Brunson, our man Brunson from Littleton, Colorado. Timothy Welch from Albany, Oregon. JP Morgan, Casey Gamble, our brother from Kansas. Paul Perky, another brother from Loveland, Colorado. Darren Hurlbert from Brent, New York. Darren, thanks for all the great comments. Ty Halbert, Abilene, Texas. Jacob DeMoss, be seeing that boy in camp pretty soon. Dawson Springs, Kentucky. Jess N., Tonganoxie, Kansas. Adam Visser from Calgary, Canada. Kyle Duman, Scott Schwab from Star Valley, Wyoming. John Kenyon, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Jonathan Scott, our brother in Twin Falls, Idaho. Randall Heath, well, another person I'll be seeing in camp. Mountain Green, Utah. Paul Jansen from Worsley, Alberta, Canada. And Jason Schultz, the man, the welder from Marlborough, Connecticut. All right, guys, man, we're going to spin this wheel, and here we go. I hope you can hear this. Who will it be? Drum roll. Come in. Oh, no. Jordan Mifflin. Williston, North Dakota. That's awesome, man. Congratulations, Jordan Mifflin from Williston, North Dakota. Buddy, what I want you to do is I want you to go on thebowhitch.com. I want you to select the item that you're wanting on there. Email me, joe@elkbros.com, with what you want. Make sure I have your shipping address, your email, and we'll get that to Armando and get that off to you. All right? Okay, y'all. Defending against breakdowns or failure points in you and your physical preparation. Guys, this is your ability to stay in the field and shift gears when it's needed. When you think about most successful teams, they have athletes that are talented, that are powerful, they're skilled, they're intelligent. So where do their failure points come from, and how do they defend against them? So just consider this. What is it that can take the strongest, the fastest, and the most skilled and make them ineffective? Take them out of the game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover those things that I think are the top two that are going to be able to do that. Number one, and we all know, I mean, you see it in sports, you see it comes up all the time before games, you have the injury list, man. The moment an athlete's playing time, or the moment that you lose hunting time, that becomes limited, is going to be a direct, and it's going to be a direct outcome on your success. That's going to keep you from scoring, that's going to keep them from scoring or producing in a game because they're on a bench, is going to be injury. And I would say that probably one of the number one things and when you start looking at athletes and those injuries, man, you can be the strongest dude, you can bench, you can be able to lift, but you get an injury to that back and it changes everything. It can put you down. It can put you out. And I tell you, I've done things where, and it's crazy. I mean, I know that the injury probably happened before. In fact, I don't know if you've ever done something with your back and have felt that electric, just that zzz that goes right across your lower back and just burns in there. you can do things that actually stress your back prior to, overwork your back when it's not prepared. And all it takes is, I think one day, and I'm almost ashamed to say it, but all I did, because I'd like to say, yeah, I was picking up this blah, blah, blah. Man, all I did was I went to my dining room table and I bent forward to rake my keys into my hand. And next thing I know, I found myself, I felt that electric thing go across my back, and I was on the floor. Had to roll over, lay on my back, and get myself together just to get up. It was crazy. So the back, man, those areas that I think that are super prone, that can take you out of the game or can limit you in the field, can limit any athlete: back, ankles, knees, shoulders, hips, the things that a lot of people don't think about, because a lot of times when you hear this whole thing about physical preparation, a lot of times everybody's always thinking, CrossFit, they got those kinds of visions in their head. They're thinking about bench pressing, their squat. Now look, there is nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. Okay. I am a coach. I have for years. In fact, one of the things that I did was I was in charge of the training and lifting and physical conditioning for our athletes. Weights were absolutely part of it. But it's kind of like basketball, where I don't really have to tell my athletes to go and dribble. I don't have to tell them, to take shots and stuff like that. They're going to do it. And generally when people think about physical training, most of the time they think about weightlifting. Well, for me, that's great. That's for overall strength, if that's something that you want to do and as part of your process and you have a workout plan. But there's plenty of those out there, and there's plenty of people talking about that. What I want to do is I really just want to talk about those areas that you can focus on, that I feel that when you get out in the woods, those are things that contribute to you having to miss time, or it slows you down. Okay, so number one, back. And yes, when you hear about deadlifts, a lot of times you think about weight room and everything like that. But we just did a webinar, and we had Preston Ward on there, Dr. Preston Ward. And one of the things that he talked about is, if you could just get something around 30, 35 pounds, 25 to 35 pounds, and do deadlifts in your house, in any place in there. You can find things like even get a kettlebell maybe that you have in your house that you can do that. And those types of, where you're in proper form, where you're lowering that butt and you're going down to the ground and you're pulling up and you're keeping your shoulders back, and you're keeping your head up and your chest forward, not putting your head down, things like that, where you go down and you actually work that back, man. So light deadlifts, and the favorite, man, the one that I always do with my athletes, all my athletes, man, because core is so critical, are planks. And any of these that you don't know, you can just look these up. Go to YouTube for proper form, the different kinds. But planks are basically where you're in push-up form. You can do it on your elbows, you can do it on your arms, but you're going to do it and get in that position where you are staying stiff in line for a certain amount of time. When you first start out, it depends on your fitness. It depends on your age. That could be 30 seconds to 3 minutes, man. And what you do is you start with what works for you. Do it in a set of 3. In other words, do one set of, 45 seconds to a minute, and rest it, and then try another one. If you're not able to go for a full minute, what you do is you go ahead and pyramid stuff, man. And use that as part of your goal and your conditioning. And what I mean by pyramid is, if I can go 1, 1, 1, well, that's great. But if I'm not able to, well, I go 1, 45, 30. And then the next time I do it, I try to go 1, 1, 45. Or it might even not even be the next time. It might be after I've done it for a week, right? And then I increase that. And then the next time in, I might be trying, 130. 1, and then maybe 45, and until I get to the point where I'm able to go 130, 130, 130, or or 2, 2, 2. So that's what I mean by pyramid it a little bit, kind of scaffold build it as you're going. And every time you do that, it's a win, man, every time. If you're not ready to increase, then you're not ready to increase, okay? Ankles. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to tell you are stuff that you can do during downtime. You don't even have to set up time. Like for ankles, man, what I tell people is to do what I call TV commercial resistance. So during your favorite show, if a commercial comes on, get your foot, start with one foot and then do the other one in the next commercial. But just, bring your knee up. And I don't think you just bring it rested on your other leg. And what I do is I put my hand on the front of my toe and I push, I give it resistance where I push down, and I'm pushing with my hand and I'm having to pull up with my foot. I do it to the inside. So first I'm putting my hand here and I'm pulling it up. Then I'm putting it to the inside of my foot and I'm pushing against my hand that way. I put it to the outside and I push it down. I don't have to worry about the bottom. I do that all the time, man. So it's kind of like an alligator's mouth, man. An alligator, a gator, when they go to break down, they can break the thickest bone in your body. But when it comes to opening their mouth, you could hold their mouth closed with your hand. So with our ankles, and when we're working stuff to do that, in a lot of exercises, when we're doing stuff, we're doing things that we don't normally do, and we're strengthening those areas. So one thing we don't do a whole lot of is resistance on the top of our foot, to the inside, to the outside. The other thing that you can do with the ankle is same thing at any time, even while you're watching TV. I know it can be distracting because you're thinking about it, but after a while, it gets to be just a little bit of routine. Is the same thing doctors would do with you with physical therapy. And that's what we call the ABCs. So basically you're taking your foot and you're moving your ankle. You're moving it to go A, B on the foot, on the floor, like you're trying to spell out those letters. And you're using the movement in your ankle to do that. So just little light things here that can help you out with that. And I'm actually going to talk about some other things as well that are in this routine of fitness that are going to help you with your ankles as well. Knees, straight leg extensions and hold. So you can do this just by, when you're sitting down, you're going to bring that leg out, and you're going to hold it just straight, just like that. You can lay on the floor and do a side and just hold it out. You can even put a little bit of weight over the ankle. You can take a sock, 2 socks, put something in it that's going to give a little bit of weight, hang it over, raise it up, and just hold. Statically hold. And just let the muscles around those tendons work, and to help strengthen those areas up, okay? Shoulders. While I'm hiking, in which I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes, when I'm putting on my walks and stuff like that, I'm always including additional exercises that are going to contribute to my overall health. Like I will do front from the bottom, and I only do it shoulder high. I'm coming to the front. I do side, what I call front and side raises. And if you're not able, and I'm not able to really give specific on this and show you because I'm sitting in this chair, but I'm trying to give at least some kind of form awareness here. Then you can always check it out on YouTube. Exaggerated running. So when you think about a runner and they have their arms at 90 degrees, whenever they run, they have one hand that goes back and comes through their pocket, and you can do this while, just so it's like, I've seen the people doing the power walking, and all you're doing is you're just working back and forth, over exaggerating the arms, and that's going to work the shoulders. You can see the shoulders getting the work there. Shadow punching while you're on your hike, just coming out with the hand, shadow punching. One that we call catch-up bottles, is we get the arms where they're at a 90 degrees at our side, just like we have a bottle in each hand. And then what I do is I take the arms, I take the elbows, and I keep the arms even with it, just like I'm trying to empty out a bottle of ketchup, just like that. Okay, so you're going to go just like this. All right. And then rotator cuff work. And so I'm actually in the same position as the ketchup bottles. And what I'm doing with that is I'm squeezing together my back, my shoulder blades. I'm squeezing those together, and I'm keeping my elbows in, and I'm taking my hands to the outside, just working my rotator cuff in there. And I do these while I'm on a hike. Does it look retarded? I don't really care, man. I'm not, I don't worry about what other people think. This is about me, and this is about my fitness, is about my prep. Okay, so I do that. Now for hips. I'm just going for your hips. I'm just going to give you something that you can look up that can change things for you as far as your hip mobility. And a lot of these things that I'm giving you are things that I've done with athletes, that I've done with my track athletes, basketball, football, different athletes, to prepare and keep them in the ball game. Right? Doing these things to be preventative, to strengthen and keep them in a game. And I do it with myself, and I tell other athletes how to do this to keep them in the woods as well. So for hips, I want you to look up, go to YouTube, and I want you to punch in Myrtle hip routine, MYRTL hip routine. And it's going to show you a series of different exercises that will strengthen and help your hip mobility. And the thing is when you get injuries, when you get an ankle injury and you're giving on it, it can affect your knee. When you have a problem with your knee, it's going to affect your hips, because what starts happening is you start recruiting other parts of your body to do the work that section can't do. So when you are doing those things, when you have that knee injury, you're going to change how you move. You're going to put more weight on other parts of your body. If you have one side of your body that's injured, you're going to recruit the other side even more, right? So think about this and how important it is to work on strengthening. And if you do have an injury, trying to heal that injury without creating other parts of your body that could have injuries. Okay, so the number one thing that's going to take you out is going to be injury, or it might not even be a bad injury, but it could be something that becomes aggravating, man. And I tell you, you'll feel it a lot of times when you're hiking, especially when you start going downhill a lot of times. Side hilling is going to be ankles, right? It's going to affect knees. How you lift and step over things can affect your knees. Your hips, man. Your hips, especially when you're putting on distance or you got weight on your back and you start shifting things, you'll start feeling in those hips. And when you have that, it slows you down. The shoulders are huge, man, just because you get that now you're carrying weight in your hands, you're carrying, a pack on your back. And for us as archery hunters, the shoulder is everything. Man, you get a shoulder injury and start compensating, then you're setting yourself up for more injury and for not being able to be as efficient in your shot as you should be. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the second factor or the second thing that will take you out, man. The second failure point. The first one was injury. The second one is exhaustion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the factors of exhaustion, because it's going to be exhaustion. And man, I'll tell you, I'm going to give you just a little bit of example, and you're going to hear this just a little bit more. But I can remember a great example of this is, when we were in college, we play intramurals. And, the football team, we had a lot of strong, big, powerful athletes. And most of our athletes and friends of mine, yeah, they not only played football, man, these guys are tremendous athletes. They were great basketball players, could dunk, could shoot. They had it all. And we were playing intramurals in college, and it was our football team against our cross country team. And you should have seen the first part of the game. It's like this thing out of a TV show, man. The guys are dunking, we're going up and down the floor, it's laughing, they're shooting, they're just tearing it up, man, because of the athleticism. But the cross-country team went at a constant speed up and down the floor so much that, yeah, everybody that, had this strength and this power and stuff, but could not stay at that pace, the exhaustion set in. And before you knew it, those dudes were just like running circles around them. So, and even though that they were these strong, powerful athletes, they just couldn't keep up, because once you hit that point of exhaustion, you're done. You're toast, man. You've got to try to recover somehow. So let's talk about the factors of exhaustion and the things that and how to mitigate that, okay? First of all, the lack of sleep. A different sleep pattern. Now on a hunt, you're going to be up early. Myself, I like to be in the field and, hunting an hour before daylight. 3 o'clock in the morning is a regular pattern for me. So I'm up early, and then when you're hunting and you're staying out and you're hunting till dark, that means, man, and I think, gosh, in September, it seems like that sun don't go down till like 8:30, almost 9 o'clock, it seems like. But by the time you get back to camp, you're in bed late, man, and if you only have a couple of hours. And that exhaustion, people that aren't used to that, it's a struggle, man, and it's hard to get used to. So what can you do? The effect of that lack of sleep gets magnified, and it starts to wear on you. And what are you going to have to do, man? You're going to have to take time. And if you're going to take time, you're not going to be in the field. Now, can you do both? Yes, you can. All right. So I'm going to talk about some things that you can do. One of the things you can do is you can change your internal clock. And what I mean by changing your internal clock, because I guide and because I hunt and I'm doing all of these 3 o'clocks and then I'm going to bed later, what I do is after a while, when I get back home, I'm still waking up at 3 in the morning because just going through that routine has changed my internal clock. Well, you can work to do some of that before you get on the hunt. Do you want to? I don't know. That's up to you. You might just be like, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to suffer then. I can sleep when I get home, right? That's great, as long as it doesn't exhaust you to the point where you're not effective in the woods, okay? So while in the woods, when you're tired, catch a power nap. I mean, 15 minutes can do wonders. Or if the situation requires it, man, or if the situation allows it, let's say that you've got some critters bedded and you're waiting for them to make a sound or make a move, or you're going to wait till something changes in the sunlight, or you're over on the other side of a ridge because you had a bad wind and you're waiting for that wind to change. You're in that type of situation, take advantage of that. Those are times to then catch up on that sleep. You can just do those little 15-minute power naps when you're tired, and I'm telling you, When I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm tired, I sleep. If that means I'm just going to pull my hat over my head and catch 15 minutes, man, that can do wonders. All right. One thing I'm going to tell you though, anytime that you're taking a nap in the woods, knock an arrow. Trust me in this, because I've had critters walk up on me. And so be ready. You never know what can happen. If worse comes to worse and you're getting totally exhausted, then you are going to become ineffective. It's like if I have a player in a game and that player cannot keep up with the pace because you can tell that they are wiped out, I'm yanking them, man. And they're going to sit on the bench and they're going to recover. Now, the less time they want on the bench, well, the better condition they get in. Same thing for us. The more time that we want to spend in the woods, the better we condition ourselves and prepare ourselves, okay? Because if you are getting exhausted, you might have to take a morning off. You might have to use the midday and the evening, take that morning off and then use the midday and evening to try to create an encounter there, or even set up, an encounter for the next day. But it's not going to do you any good to be stumbling around the woods totally exhausted. So your prep has to happen before you ever get there. Okay. Conditioning, again, factors of exhaustion. The second would be conditioning endurance, in which I just alluded to. Look, I haven't coached a sport yet where success wasn't dependent on conditioning and endurance to stay in the game, right? To be able to compete consistently, continually at a high level of execution and focus. If you're not able to do that, then you're putting yourself in a losing position. Did you know that a sprinter does not win because she or he goes faster at the end? No, they actually maintain longer while the other athletes are slowing down. To us on the outside, it looks like, look at them go. It looks like they are speeding up and going faster than everybody else. Y'all, the best aren't winning more because they're speeding up. No, it's because those people around them are winning less because they're slowing down. I mean, it's a proven fact. In the 100-meter dash, I think it's been like two humans that have been able to maintain a speed for 100 meters. Not speed up, maintain. So when you see people that are going like that and one person's going ahead, it's because the other ones are slowing down, right? And the same thing happens in the woods. You have people that are winning out there because they can stay in the game. They can stay at speed. They can maintain. Or, they can stay out of speed, and when they need to step up, they can, all right? Those that are winning can go hard. They can be effective continually, or when they need to, late in the hunt or at a certain time in the day. Generally, as hunts go, when a lot of people have already taken themselves out of the hunt. So how can you improve? How can the hunter improve conditioning, their endurance? Well, if you take a look at a tennis player and they want to build their serving endurance, they serve thousands of balls. A cyclist, how do they build race endurance? By cycling, flat, uphills, downhills. How does a basketball player build game endurance? Continual movement, continual running, and movement and drill work while dribbling, while shooting, by doing defensive stances, by drop stepping, short sprints, going forward, moving backwards. They're doing all of the specific things that they need that are going to help them be successful on the court, right? So how does an elk hunter develop hunt conditioning and endurance? Y'all, through hunt specific movements and simulated activity, by hiking, walking 30 minutes to an hour at about 3.5 to 4 miles an hour, a pace. Now, I'm not sure what your pace is. It might be 3 miles an hour. But you want to build that up to where you are going and picking up that pace and going with it, with or without a pack, preferably with a pack. And, I'll give you a hint on that too. For me, it's kind of like this whole thing where people like to run or hike with ankle weights. I'm not big on that. I'm really not. Not especially anything that's going to put stress on the knees. So when you have a pack, I recommend to have that at normal gear weight, right? Or 5 to 10 pounds above that, because the legs are a whole different thing than putting all the weight on a knee or putting all the weights on the ankles, right? That 5 to 10 pounds will make it when you have your regular pack feel great, okay? And for me, a lot of people are like, well, what is that? Is that 40, 45 pounds? Not for me, man. That's not what I want to hunt in. And if you are hunting with your camp on your back, that's different, right? But for me, I generally keep mine at day pack weight. And most of the time I hunt in a day pack. So I'm like 20 to 28 pounds in there. And, if you're like, man, how do I get that? Look, maybe your pack isn't 20 to 28 pounds at the beginning, right? Maybe it is, right? Because I think a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. So depending on how much water, you're going to have water weight. You're going to have food weight. But the beauty of that is as you're going, when you're hunting, that gets less and less. So I figure about 20 to 28 pounds on my pack weight. If you have more than that, and you've been hunting for a while, I want you to go and look in your pack and then determine, what is it that you really need? Because there's some things that you might not use all the time that you absolutely need, that in case of emergency, first aid stuff and stuff like that. But what is it that sometimes we carry just because it was a gift or because it's cool, and who knows, we might get the opportunity to use it sometime. Myself, there's objects that I don't use when I hunt. I've never carried a rangefinder. I don't carry big binos. And even though that's not in my day pack, well, actually for mine it is. I have pockets on the side, and I usually, if I carry anything, I carry small compact binos just so I can check through areas if I keep something like that. So that's in there. If I'm guiding, then that's different. I'll wear a chest pack. But for me, hunting, I don't like anything on my chest. I like to be able to go hard. I like to be able to peel fast. And because of the type of country I hunt in, and it could be different, man. It's different for people. You got to use the tools that work for you. And if you're in an area where you do a lot of glassing, then that's a totally different deal, right? And I know people like to use it sometimes just to keep things close. I have kind of like little kangaroo pockets on the side of my pack, and I really like that and keep things in there. So, hiking and walking, y'all, man, that, if you're going to swim the English Channel, you had better be swimming. If you're going to hunt elk, you had better be hiking. And hike uneven surfaces, side hill. And again, now that's going back to avoiding injuries. The side hilling is going to work the ankles. Avoid the easy. Make things that are uneven. Find those areas. Now, if all you have, like on some mornings, man, I'm just getting distance and I'm just going hard. And then I'll find an area where I do something a little bit different on there, like I start adding my hills in, right? So, but if you're going on the road and there's a little bit of a slope on the side, or you got grass in there, that stuff is, walk it, hike it. It's not about the time, right? It's about putting on the distance. Do the distance and make it difficult. Do those things that are going to replicate as close as possible you being out in the hills. So we're going to hike. We're going to hike uneven surface. We're going to side hill. Okay, we're going to avoid the easy. And then here's something that you can do. I call it pizza box blowdowns, right? Pizza boxes, y'all. Yeah, I know it's going to add to the belly if you don't eat pizza. I know plenty of people that do, man. If you have kids and you have pizza parties or you go places, man, pizza boxes, save them. And what you can do is in your yard, you can do this. Put it right in your yard where your shooting course is, because you walk back and forth. Utilize that walking back and forth. Just like I said about adding my shoulder work when I'm hiking, adding something extra in there, so I'm utilizing that time. You can do the same thing with these pizza boxes. And what we do is we take the pizza boxes, we take them so that we open them up, and you're going to place them on the ground so that they're open and they're going to stand up, man. And those pizza boxes are only, I don't know, they're like, oh gosh, I don't know, 20 inches or so tall. If you get a large, ain't no small pieces, man. That ain't going to help you out none. So you get those large boxes and you just open them up and they become little mini hurdles. Walk over them, all right? When you're going to pull on your target, have it set up over on the side. Go walk over them. Pull your arrows. Come walk back over them. Do side step overs. Okay, that is great for hip mobility. But those front step overs and keeping your knees in proper position and your feet, in other words, when you go to step over that, don't throw the leg out and around. Go over them. Keep the feet and the knees forward, so that you can step over. And that way you don't do anything to hurt your knees. All right. The side step overs, again, like I said, great for hip mobility. Back step overs, and people, they're like, well, do you step backwards in the woods? Absolutely, man. You get yourself in a position. Sometimes I've been someplace where I've had an animal that has freezed me up. And, I've locked up because I've spotted an animal, and now I got to move. I'm not able to go forward, and I'm going back, and I'm doing things where I'm trying to get my feet moving back and stepping over stuff on the ground. Absolutely, man. Just do those things that are kind of replicate that. And pizza box blowdowns, you do not realize how much you step up and over on a hunt. Okay. So that's going to be huge for you. All right. Hiking uphill and downhill. Again, replication, right? Add that. And especially at this time of year, July, it's July 1. If you have not added hill work, and all you got to do is find that, 20, 30, 40-yard hill. I'm not sure if you're a flatlander. Find a place, man. If you have to, go to a hotel and use steps there. Stairs. Stairs are the greatest thing that you can do, man. Go to a hotel and go in there and start doing their stairs. Find your high school stadium. Go do steps, right? Up and down. These are different things. Find a way. Look, y'all, we're going to talk about winning mindset, but I want you to understand something that is the voice that's in my head. It's my dad's voice. The greatest gift that he gave me, and that he told me, I don't know how many times, where there's a will, there's a way. So if you want to replicate this stuff, you can just go, I'm a flatlander, I can't do that, right? Well, you absolutely can. Find a way. There are things to do that. Lunges, body squats, scissor jumps, which are basically like jumping lunges. All of these things you can do that are going to simulate and strengthen your hunt-specific movements. And why lunges and body squats, man? The up and down, to get up and under stuff, to get down on the ground and get up, to get in position. And a lot of you think, well, man, that's not that difficult, right? Remember, we're talking about doing things to mitigate exhaustion, right? So even though it's not that difficult, it's burning cows. It is doing a toll. It's basically taking money out of the bank. For you, you're trying to put money in the bank so that when you start withdrawing, when you start pulling from that energy level because of the different things that you do, the more you're in condition, having done these specific movements, the simulated activity, the better off that you're going to be. All right? Altitude. This is a huge one. For flatlanders that are coming to the mountains, for people from the East Coast that are going from sea level to 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 12,000 feet in elevation, you can't replicate it, right? But you can mitigate it. What do I mean on that? Well, you can do things that are going to help you work on recovery. In other words, yes, it might be difficult for you when you go and you blow, but you should be able to recover faster so that you're back into the game, so that your breathing's able to settle down and you can put yourself in a position and be able to continue to move from that. And what you're going to find is, as you're doing this in the hills, that recovery is going to become easier and easier because you are going to start to acclimate. In fact, if you can get to wherever you're hunting 2 days prior, that will help a ton in acclimation itself right there. Okay, so how can you work on recovery? What I recommend is HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training. There's all kinds of HIIT workouts. You can look this up and man, I mean, all kinds of different things, from, doing different types of exercises. And what they mean is you're doing high intensity for a hard, short period, and then you're getting a short time recovery and you're doing that again. Okay. For me, and I talked about adding hills, one thing that I really like to do is find a 30-yard hill, 30, 40 yard, and go up that hard, turn, and then I'm going to go up it hard and I'm going to walk down, and then I'm going to turn and go. And I'm not going to take a ton of time. When I come on that walk down, I want to make sure I have proper form. I want to make sure I'm safe. The footing could be a little bit weird. And that's generally the most dangerous time, when you're hiking, is actually downhill hiking. So you got to be careful when you're coming down. Place that feet, come down, turn and go. 4 times, 5 times. Each time as you're doing this, again, try to scaffold, try to improve, try to work up, try to get to where you're doing it 10 times, okay? A great example of something that, if you're a little bit younger and that you want to do it, something that I did with my track athletes to work that recovery was I had them do, their HIIT routine was a 20-second sprint with 10 seconds of weight, and they did that for 2 minutes. Only 2 minutes. But let me tell you, you go 20 seconds hard, 10 seconds off, 20 seconds hard, 10 seconds off for 2 minutes. It is a beast. And, let's say that you're doing your jogging or you're doing your runs. A high intensity training, possibly a type of interval training you could do, is something we call telephone poles. In other words, you're doing a jog, light jog, then you hit a telephone pole, and between that and the next pole and that distance, you're going to go hard. And then when you get past that, you're back down just to a light jog. You hit the next one and you go. And you might do this for a certain amount of distance, right? Just to add that interval, that bringing that intensity, making your body have to go hard and then recover, helping it work on recovery. So that's a way to do that. And like I said, it's July now. You should be adding those hills. And it doesn't have to be a major, you don't have to go, 100 yards, man. It just has to be something that is short and hard, that gets your heart rate up. And then you walk down and you turn and go again. And you are actually helping your body work on that recovery. Okay. So can't replicate it, but you can mitigate it, okay? Dehydration. Y'all, and this is probably the easiest one to overcome because you just got to stay hydrated. Look, dehydration alone, and that's 2% of body weight loss. Okay, so if you're a 200-pound person, that's 4 pounds of water weight. If you're 150 pounds, that's 3 pounds of water weight. 2% body weight loss because due to dehydration of water loss can cause decreased endurance, increased fatigue, reduce your strength and power, and also affect your thought processing. Okay, a great example is we had an incredible young lady, a miler, a distance runner, and she was just shattering stuff everywhere. She was a machine. And we go to state She was young at the time. She was an eighth grader and just a powerhouse as an eighth grader. And we go to state, her first time at state. So just that nervousness, she did things a little bit different because she wasn't in a routine, and she just didn't drink, man. She actually, because she didn't drink enough and didn't do the things that we usually do, like my athletes, I usually tell them prior to a workout, during the day, they have to down at least a gallon of water. It just keeps their blood sugars level, and it helps them to be hydrated when we get to the workout. It increases their endurance. It increases their strength and power. It keeps at a level, a workout level that is going to help them be effective. So this young lady didn't do that. And on her first race at state, you could see the struggle where in her face, and it just wasn't there. And she wasn't able to perform in her first race. And, I started talking to her and discovered this girl hadn't been drinking. So that evening we hydrated her. We even put her in a tub of water, just let her body soak some stuff in. We made sure she drank. The next day in her next race, it was the same girl, man. She just blew it up. And it all came down to a loss of water weight, man. She was dehydrated. So, guys, never skimp on water weight in your pack. Like I told you earlier, that and your food gets lighter as you go. It'll help you go longer. It'll help you stay stronger. Drink plenty before you even go out, okay? While hunting, now, you're going to be in the mountains. You're going to be in an arid area. It's not the same. There's not the moisture that you have, like, naturally, and you don't realize it when you're back east. I know when I first moved out here to New Mexico, I was thirsty all the time, man. I drank and drank and drank. And, it's funny, I feel that when I go back east now. Something that I never felt was like I take a shower and I get out of the shower and I dry off and I still feel damp. Never noticed that because I was raised in it. But, that's something that you got to deal with here. So drink plenty before heading out. When you're hunting, stay in the shadows as much as possible. That's where elk are anyway. You don't need to be out in the sun sweating yourself off, sweating your butt off out there. And move at a pace that doesn't make you sweat, right? I mean, as a bow hunter, that's always in my mind anyway. I don't want to sweat. Now, there's going to be times, y'all, look, when it's go and blow time, when you've got to cut the distance on an animal or you got to get to a certain place, yeah, it's going to happen and you're going to keep the wind in your favor, but you don't need to do, if you are going hard so that you're sweating on a hunt, you might not be doing the things that are going to help you to be observant in the woods and to catch other movement instead of you just going by it. So stay in the shadows as much as possible. Work on your pace so that it's not something that's causing you to sweat until you need to, okay? Drink when thirsty. As soon as you feel thirsty, man, make sure that you're drinking. It don't have to be a ton. Just drink. Keep moisture going into that body. Drink when taking a break, no matter if you are thirsty. And then when you get back to camp, rehydrate, okay? Drink plenty, I know this, man. I get back to camp, and what's one reason that you don't want to drink a lot at night before you hit the sack is, man, you don't want to be up having to pee all night, right? But I'm telling you, you'll realize how dehydrated your body is when you come back and you drink a ton and you don't even feel like getting up, right? So that's how you know that you are not hydrated, okay? All right, so let's go to the second part of this. The first part was you and your physical prep. And I hope some of that helped you out. And I hope it was a little bit different and it gets your head thinking a little bit different manner so that you are getting ready for the season. Okay, so up next, you and your mental preparation. And guys, this is probably one of the biggest and one of the largest failure points. If your head's not in the game, you're not in the game, okay? I mean, our mental ability and how we perceive everything around us and how we perceive what we're doing and what we want to put into something that we're doing, that is everything. And I think the biggest contributors to this failure point are, number one, not having a winning mindset. not believing in yourself, your game plan, and your abilities. And secondly, the ability to stay focused, right? Now, we can talk about all kinds of mental preparation in this, but I'm going to just kind of hit this. And I want to take a step back and tell you, and honestly, the quickest way to break down mentally is to break down physically. So if you're helping with that first part up there, you're going to be helping the second part. All right. So I talked about winning mindset and focus, right? So I'm going to go to the winning mindset. And the big question is what defines a win on a hunt? All right. Look, there's all kinds of wins in sports and on a hunt. Overcoming obstacles, accomplishing many goals, doing what others say can't be done, believing in yourself, the internal drive and confidence, work ethic, pride, tradition, the battles, the memories, and doing something that not everyone can do or are even willing to do, because y'all, this is not easy, okay? In sports, competition, life, hunting, they're all one and the same. You know, you have to do the things that, and the skills, and gosh, I don't know if I want to say it's a skill. It's a mentality. You know, you have to have a winning mentality in all things in order to succeed. But just what is a winning mindset for a hunt? And that can be different for everyone. So, and it can be personal to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share what I consider to be my winning mindset. This is what works for me, my formula, and how I coach. You know, that doesn't mean that it's going to stamp on you, but maybe there's something that you can get out of this. And these are the parts of my winning mindset. And you heard something, and I'm going to start out with number one. And whenever I open my bow case, it's written on the outside of my bow case. It's etched in my brain. And that's my mantra that was given to me by my dad. Where there's a will, there is a way. And I absolutely believe that. I don't believe in stopping at the first obstacle. I don't believe in no. I don't believe in I can't. Generally, when I hear somebody say I can't, it's just that they're not willing to try. Now, is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. But with help or doing other things to prepare yourself in a different way, it is possible and it can be done. All right. So that's the first thing. That is number one. That is my mantra in my mind. Okay. Secondly, guys, every time I put on my pack, my day pack, I take and I wrap my bugle tube on. I put on my shooting glove and I grip my hands around my bow. It's almost like it's a superpower, y'all. It is game on. I feel that. I have that attitude that, you know, I go through this process of going from Camp Joe to Hunt Joe. And, you know, I just feel like I'm ready to go. First and foremost, I know and expect to punch my tag. I know I can and I expect to. I've worked. I've prepared for it. I know what it takes to get the job done. And every time I step into the woods, today is the day. And I hunt each day like it's my last. And well, what do I mean by that? I think we hunt differently on our last day. I think we hunt a little bit more aggressively. I think we hunt with more focus. I think we're so much more attentive. I think we are drilled and lasered in because this is it, right? I mean, you always hear in sports, fourth quarter, or, you know, you got the last 2 minutes, or the last part of a race, man. You have all of those things that it comes down to. And I like to hunt every day like it's my last day. And I have found, man, I can go back and, man, and tell you so many stories of last day bulls. You know, I know that if my brother Cody, the kid, Cody Kirkpatrick, is listening to this, Cody was the winner of the very first ever hunt with the ElkBros. And I had the pleasure of hunting with him and his dad. And it was a tough, hard hunt. I mean, it was hard. Animals were scarce. You had to work for your encounters. I mean, it was tough, right? And you know, in fact, we did a podcast. It was a 10-day hunt. We did a podcast on the evening of 9, talked about all of the close calls, all the near misses that we had. And there were so many of them. On that hunt, we called it the one more step hunt. So many times we were within anything from 12 to 30 yards of elk in situations where we just needed one more step, and that would have been an animal on the ground. So we talked about on that podcast, and I remember telling Cody and looking at him, you know, hey, we've got tomorrow. This hunt's not over, man. It was the last day, and sure enough, on the last day, we got it to happen. And this has happened to me and Chav multiple times. In fact, my wife actually accuses us of waiting till the last day to kill an animal, okay? But when you have that attitude, when you go out there, that helps so much in a lot of aspects of your hunt. It helps you in a lot of ways to keep that winning mindset, right? I don't care how long your hunt is. Don't look at the length of it. Don't wrap your head around and go out on day one and go, I got 14 days. I got 5 days. I got 7 days. I got 14 days. I have 30 days. Because as soon as you start having that, well, there's always tomorrow attitude, I don't think you put everything into today. And look, one thing that I've really stressed to a lot of people is we don't know what tomorrow brings, ever. You know, I tell my athletes that. I have athletes that say, well, I'll do that my senior year. You don't know what that year is going to bring, man. We pray and hope that they're blessed and everything goes great in their life and there's no injuries or things that impede them from being able to continue to do that. But a lot of careers have been ended that, in athletics or in a lot of things from things that aren't expected. Today is this present. This is our gift. This is what we know. Tomorrow is unknown. Today is the day. Okay. Another thing, a part of my mindset, y'all, is that, and I think this is huge, is that I live for, I relish and love all aspects of the hunt itself. I hunt the hunt. I love the hunt, the grind, the hide and seek, restacking the odds that most people say are against me, becoming a part of nature, and beating my opponent on their turf at their game. My mindset is to be a competitor first and foremost. The rest of it will take care of itself. If I love what I'm doing, if I enjoy every aspect of the hunt, that's going to keep my mentality strong, okay? That's going to keep me in the game. And again, if I'm hunting like this is the last day and I'm working on that, I am trying to stay on my toes at my best. My other thought processes are I'm going to create my opportunity and be aggressive in my actions. Create my opportunities. I am not a waiter, man. I do horrible in blinds, even though they're exceedingly successful. I am not one to wait in a tree stand. Another great way to be successful. I love I love calling. I love becoming a part of that whole aspect of the nature. I love that interaction. I love that intimacy. So I do that, and I learn to do things that are going to help me create opportunities. And I'm going to be aggressive in my actions. I'm going to be aggressive in that I'm going to use my calling a lot. all right? I'm going to move if I have to get a shot. I am going to draw on an animal that gets in position. I'm not going to freeze up and let them go by. Everything that I do, and I've always been this way, is to be aggressive, okay? To take the steps to ensure that I'm going to have an opportunity. And you hear me talk about that quite a bit, okay? And last but not least, in my mind, is always to adapt and overcome. Do what it takes. Find a way. Be determined and persistent. Again, where there's a will, there's a way, okay? So that's my winning mindset in a nutshell. And guys, do I have to fight demons? Absolutely, man. I mean, you don't think that I don't get tired? Heck yes, I do. You know, and when I do, like I told you, I lay down, I sleep. But you got to do the things that are going to help you stay strong. And just really by enjoying the process. If you go into a hunt and you think that there's an elk behind every tree, and because you don't see it in the first hour, or you don't get a response in the first day or the second day or the third day, and you're on your fourth day of the hunt, well, that is a new gift. That's a new day. It's funny. I know a lot of people will actually, there's some people that will hunt. They'll hunt 3 days and then they'll leave, right? And then they'll come back to hunt. And they'll come with a whole fresh attitude. If that's what it takes, do it, man. But you can do that yourself each day. You can look at each new day as an opportunity. So that's winning mindset. Believing in yourself, in your game plan. I mean, I've had people that, you know, I have actually taught and given strategies to on how to be successful in there. And I had a buddy, I tell a story of a friend of mine, great individual that I helped with a location. I helped with his strategy. I said, here's what you need to do, right? I want you to do this, this, and this. And he texted me that evening and he said that he had 4 bulls come in on him on that day. And I was like, well, did you get a shot? And he said, no, because I wasn't ready. And I'm like, why weren't you ready? And he said, honestly, I really didn't think it was going to work. Look, if you don't believe in the juice that you're drinking, man, it ain't going to do you any good. And, you know, the next day, he texted me the next day and he's got his first elk on the ground. And I'm like, so what was the difference between today and yesterday? And he said, I believed. I believed in what I was doing. I knew it could work. And so I was ready for it when it did. Okay. So that's another thing, you know, about that belief, about believing in yourself, in your abilities, believing in your game plan. And here's the thing, and believing that if that game plan isn't working, that you have an alternative that you can change to, that you can adapt and overcome. Okay? All right. So the last part that I'm going to hit here is focus. Such a huge failure point because a lack of focus generally and almost always results in a missed opportunity. And that's where you get those woulda, coulda, shoulda stories, right? And I talked about contributing factors to the exhaustion that we had before. And I want to, you know, talk about the factors to focus. And I'm going to go back to that, you know, that we were talking about in physical fitness. And again, I told you before, a lot of times if you take care of that, it's going to help you a lot in your mindset. It's going to help you so much in your focus, because I would say that the number one contributing, you know, factor to a lack of focus is exhaustion. When you're losing focus, stop, rest, get refocused. And, you know, you can, how many times do you say that to athletes that are in a game, man? You know, get focused, you know, refocus. And you're telling them that because if you don't have that focus while you're out there, then you're just going through the motions and you're almost in, I don't know, it's almost like you're in a dream state, because you're just going through. You're not really observing. You're not really hunting. You're waiting for something to happen. And generally, if you're not focused, when it does happen, you're not going to be ready, and it's going to be a blown opportunity. If your exhaustion is coming from, from the conditions, and if it's coming from lack of hydration, if you're too hot where you are, change the conditions, man. Get in the shade. Again, that's where the critters are going to be anyway. And in fact, that's one thing that I want to tell you. Now, I try to coach people and let them know that elk are so much like us. A lot of the thought processes that you have in your head are what they have in their head and how they want to do it as well. Like, for example, elk. And some people say that they're lazy. They're not lazy. They're survivalists, man. They don't want to burn energy that they don't need to burn. They're efficient. That's the word. They're efficient. So they take passive least resistance. And you can do the same thing. When you find an elk trail, get on it, because they are taking passive least resistance. It's your best opportunity to come across those critters, because now you're in their hallways when you're doing that, okay? If you're hot and you're tired, if you're hot, you need to be in the shade. Elk are the same way, man. They have to regulate thermally. If they're freezing, they're going to be in the sunlight. Same thing that you do. So a lot of times I'm trying to tell people, think about what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and how you need to change that and apply that to the animal, okay? Change it for yourself and do it the same way those animals would be doing it. And you can put yourself in better positions, okay? So exhaustion is a huge contributing factor to a lack of focus. So just by conditioning, just by hydration, just by taking that last day mentality, you can help yourself in some of that. And by doing the things that are going to keep you from getting exhausted, by taking passive release resistance, by finding the best ways to travel, not putting yourself in situations that could be dangerous, that can be overexerting, okay? All right. Another, and it always comes back to belief, a lot of times a lack of focus is just simply a sign that you don't believe in yourself or what you're doing. You're going through the motions, just like what I just talked about, okay? Goes right back to that winning mindset. You don't believe. So why don't you believe? Is it because you expected it to be easy? Then change that, okay? Then change that. That leads us right into the next factor, expectations. Y'all, expect the worst, hope for the best. Expect for it to be hard, because it is, and take pride in that fact that it's hard. This is something that a majority of people are unable to do. This is something that most people, look at the success rates. This is something that a majority of people will not accomplish. When you hunt, you are putting in days and hours of effort for seconds of something amazing. And I promise you that if you do the things that we've been talking about in this series, you can absolutely be successful and take your first animal or your second animal or your third animal. You don't think that, I hear people say, well, I can get one animal in 3 years. What? Why is that? Where is that rule written? You can be successful every year you go out there. I heard people say, well, you have to hunt years before you can take an elk. Absolutely not. Should you expect to kill an animal in your first year? If you're prepared, if you're ready, you've conditioned yourself, you've developed your skill set, you understand the animal, you have a strategy, absolutely, man. If you have these things, you should absolutely expect to be successful. You can, yes, kill an animal on your first hunt. I've had people that have told me that, Joe, you need to give people realistic expectations. Man, if being unsuccessful is the reality, it's not mine. Absolutely not going to be my reality, y'all. Then why do it? Why should I, believe in being unsuccessful and not being successful? Again, that's that mindset. Know and believe that your moment, your opportunity is going to happen and you are going to be ready for it. Yes, it is absolutely a grind, y'all, but it only takes seconds to go from zero to hero. You can hunt and hunt and hunt. I'm telling you, again, I've had plenty of that last day stuff. Be ready, man. Have the expectations that it is something that is hard for most people to accomplish. But yes, you can do it, okay? So I'm going to leave you. That is going to be our last thought. I want you to beat your chest with expectation. I want you to have confidence. Now, you know, you're going to go out there and, man, you're going to hit it. And Joe's like, be confident. You can do this. And you're going through day one. Joe, I haven't heard anything talk. You're going through day two. Well, then find the sign. You haven't heard anything talk. Learn to kill a silent elk. Learn to hunt the hunt. Go find those areas where they are. If it's hot, find those areas where they're going to need water. Get in that spot. Find the track and then reverse engineer that. Where are they going to? Where are the features? Where are they finding shade? Where are the cool areas? They are going to be there. Be where they want to be, okay? You can absolutely do this, y'all. I hope this series, because we are getting ready to take off, I hope this series has given you material to prep you in a way that maybe you've never thought of. I hope it's given you nuggets to help you in all aspects of your hunt, offensively, defensively. But I'm telling you, it's huge to look in the mirror, to recognize your failure points, and then eliminate them. Guys, we here at ElkBros, we want to wish you and your family an amazing holiday. Take time to enjoy every moment like it's your last. And when it's all over, remember this. Less than 60 days till September. But until then, y'all, keep dreaming of the screaming. Keep believing and achieving. But most of all, keep grinding. God bless. We'll see you in a month.
Where others' fear is home to me. No boundaries for my soul. The pounding, the primal blood, driving hunger like no other, running through my veins. No man versus nature, only me versus me. A centuries-old challenge, raging deep inside my soul. No anger, malice, or evil, only a hunter and his prey. This is my life, country born and raised. When that whistle blows, I'm on the trail, pounding in my head. There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. This is my life, I know it's my day, my life. Don't think you know me, my life, no odds will own me, my destiny, my way. Like a ghost unseen, tasting every scent, knowing with every breeze. The trail before me, the fire burning inside me. This is what we live for, honor, passion, and pain. This is my life, grinder born and raised. When that whistle blows, I'm on the trail, pounding in my head. There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. This is my life, I know it's my day, my life. Don't think you know me, my life, no odds will own me, my destiny, my way. This is my life, runner born and raised. When that whistle blows, I'm on the trail, pounding in my head. There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. This is my I know it's my day, my life. Don't think you know me. My life, no odds will own me. My destiny, my way.